Today, I'm joined by Ryan Sherman, Idalia Ibarra from Arizona Autism, and Brian Ingle from our partner Solutions LC. Welcome, all of you, and thank you for joining Caspio's podcast today. To get started, can each of you please introduce yourself and share a little bit about your background? Ryan, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, so my name's Ryan Sherman. I am the owner of Arizona Autism and multiple other companies. And I've been in this industry for 15 years. Started this company as just an occupational therapist. I'm an OT by trade. Started this company in 2012, and it has grown substantially from that starting point. It is now one of the largest companies in the state of Arizona, probably one of the largest in the Southwest. And um, yeah, that's me,
Okay.
owner.
Idalia, do you want to go next?
Yeah, my name is Idalia Ibarra. I am the HCBS director here at Arizona Autism. I have worked at Arizona Autism for quite a while. I would want to say, oh, it's actually almost 7 years next week. So, really, really cool. Feel like I've just grown both professionally and personally, within just the company as a whole. I started as a case manager in the HCBS department and I jumped around professionally with HR, recruiting, compliance. And then as of 2023, had the awesome opportunity to join the director team for the HCBS department. So HCBS, or just the workflow specifically for the department that I'm in, has been, just expanding and evolving in general. And it's been truly, a privilege and an honor to kind of be part of all of the stages of evolvement for the department. So because of that, and because of my I guess just time here and here at Arizona Autism and being part of all of those stages, I had the awesome opportunity to be part of the transition and kind of the bridge between Caspio and the workflow processes for Arizona Autism.
Great. Brian, do you want to go next?
Oh yeah, thanks. So my name's Brian Ingle. I use the name Solutions LC kind of like as a promotional tool really for my freelancing services. I help organisations to reduce their costs and improve delivery times and functionality, primarily through the use of low-code application builders. And I've got a long background in IT. It's like solution development, solution designs, integrations, solution architecture, and also enterprise architecture. I first started using Caspio probably about 10 years ago now, I'd say, when I worked as an architect in a large healthcare organization. But now, like I say, I use these skills in my freelancing services. So yeah, that's me.
Okay, thanks everyone. So Ryan, from your side then, for those people that are listening that are not familiar with Arizona Autism, can you share with everyone a bit of an overview of the company and the types of services you provide?
Yeah, sure. So we are in the developmental disability space, and we have contracts with Medicaid. So in the states, most states, all states have a Medicaid waiver, it's called, that if you have a qualifying diagnosis, you are on that waiver and you are able to get state funded services. So we provide, for example, occupational, physical, speech therapies. We have caregiving services where we're hiring caregivers and they're going out to homes. We have group homes where we purchase homes and individuals with developmental disabilities reside in those homes. We do independent living where you have a family that wants to take in and get reimbursed for caring for an individual with developmental disabilities. We also do ABA therapy. So we have clinics that around the state that also do ABA, which is applied behavior analysis. Um, I'm sure I'm missing a service because we do so many, but that's a pretty big overview. We do mainly it's pediatrics. However, we have a significant over 18 population that we also service, and we're throughout the entire state. So in the rural areas from Bisbee, Arizona, down south to uh, Snowflake, way up north in the mountains. So we provide services in all areas of the state of Arizona.
Yeah, it's amazing what your organization does, and obviously the lives that it touches and improves as well. So yes, it's an amazing organization. So Brian, from your side, can you share a little bit about Solutions LC? To know, obviously, you mentioned before that you've been using Caspio for almost, I think it's over 10 years now, and been an official partner for a couple of years now. So what type of customers are you working with, and kind of where's your expertise?
Well, my expertise is quite deep because, like I said, I started, I'm getting on a bit. So I've been at least sort of 25 years in the industry. I've worked primarily in healthcare. I worked a lot through consultancies in the UK, working with the NHS. And then I moved actually to Switzerland, and I worked with a leading a research organization, healthcare research, and I did a lot of their IT and architecture and kind of worked up through the solutions delivery, very large scale integration services, and then more into the architecture, solution architecture and enterprise architecture. And then through really personal reasons, I decided that I preferred to start off up on my own, and I worked with a couple of startups originally, helping them sort of with their initial setup and looking for ways to do it most cost effectively. And we find solutions like Caspio, low code development is very cost effective, and it allows organizations, especially in a startup role, to get up and running extremely quickly. So yeah, I started using my skills in that way, and also to integrate with their other services as well.
Yeah.
And then Ryan got in touch with me, actually. I believe it was some time ago now, probably about 18 months we've been working together, with initially a very small application he was interested in building. So we built that out pretty quickly. And then it kind of grew and grew throughout his different organizations. And we looked at a more holistic view and what applications we could use to help fit it all together. And after that review, Caspio came out as, the leading option, which is what we've been using ever since.
So from your side then, Brian, and it sounds like you're working on different applications for different businesses that Ryan owns as well. So what was the challenge in terms of Arizona Autism coming to you, and what were they looking to achieve?
Challenge of Arizona Autism is how to fit all of the different organizations together, all of the different companies. So they all like to share the same table. So they have clients which go across organizations for the different services, and also in some of the staff and some of the services. So it was about, in other environments that I've used, to actually achieve that, you've got to build a lot of integration to share that data. But one of the real strengths of Caspio, one of the biggest reasons we went for it in this case, was because you can just share tables across those organizations and take subsets of those data, and also make sure that that's secure, because you can build like the security layer and the authorizations on top of it using different views and queries.
Yeah.
So even though they're sharing all of the same data and the same tables, we can allow that to be shared and not have to send that data around, and keep it secure at the same time, which is a real bonus.
Yeah. Ryan, how did you find Brian? And what were you looking at?
I wanted to clarify one thing Brian said. He's saying organizations, but really those are departments,
Right?
Okay, because Arizona Autism is one organization, and there's many different revenue streams, and so those unique revenue streams all have a unique workflow,
Right.
and bringing that all together in the application. I think that's what Brian meant to say, but I just wanted to clarify that. So I found Brian through another low code platform.
Yeah.
That we were using and we still use, and put an ad out, and that's when the conversation started. I was in Quickbase, and we can get to that, or we can talk about that now. Prior to coming over to Caspio, so he was great in explaining like this low code platform is going to be good for this, or this one's not HIPAA compliant, etc. Brian dives into the costs of those products, which is helpful to get kind of an analysis on how much it's actually going to cost me at the end of the day. So yeah, that's how I found him, and it's kind of just snowballed, and now we are just perfecting what we've built, adding new features, etc.
Yeah. You mentioned obviously other low code providers as well. What made you move away from that company to Caspio?
We were in Quickbase and had been in Quickbase for several years. And really their costs just got completely out of control. And there was really no, like, hey, if you're gonna have this many APIs firing per day, you're gonna have to pay this cost. There was never really education about that with the Quickbase platform. And they had called me up one day and they were just basically like, your applications are in the 99th percentile for complexity. And I was just like, what? So that basically started the entire exit from Quickbase, which was just a massive project. Here I have, across the different organizations, they're in different states. We're just talking about Arizona Autism, but I have a company in New Mexico. I have multiple companies that I own here in Arizona, that are not associated with Arizona Autism. And all of these companies were in Quickbase, and we had just a massive project to exit Quickbase and move over. The fact that, and I think we alluded to this earlier, that in Quickbase there's no central staff table, for example. There's no central client table where you can, type a note on a staff member and have that note show up in each application that we were using in Quickbase. That didn't exist. That was huge in Caspio. The fact that we can do that in Caspio is great. Like, we have these different applications in Caspio for Arizona Autism for each revenue line, and being able to share staff and client across those applications is huge. That was a big reason as well that we went with Caspio. But the cost was, close to 5 times cheaper. So that was one of the main driving forces with finding Caspio, and also you can do more. And Brian can probably talk a little bit more about this because he's messed around in Quickbase during this entire transition. There's a lot more customization that can be done in Caspio. And that is better suited for our unique, like, kind of niche industry.
Yeah. Brian, anything to add from your side? Because I know you've been delving into both, it sounds like.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Kind of like Ryan said there, although Caspio's a low-code application builder and you can build applications really quickly, what it offers on top of that is customizations as well. So you can actually start, writing the code in on top of it for, the 5% that it can't cover. We can still deliver that. And a lot of other low-code application builders don't, or no-code application builders won't allow that. So the fact that Caspio is a low-code really fits it in quite nicely, because there are some quite complex requirements, as Ryan alluded to there, that we needed to deliver on. So yeah, that's another plus.
In terms of kind of the operational pain point, from your perspective, Ryan, what was the pain point you needed to eradicate for Arizona Autism? Was there something there that you specifically needed to change?
So, yeah, I mean, the main pain point was just in Quickbase was like the tables not being able to share the data. We had to duplicate the data
Right.
between the tables. That was, yeah, I mean, that was the central item that really Caspio excelled at, and we were able to resolve and just some of the other. We have a lot of integrations that are not possible in Quickbase. We're working on an AI feature, which we could probably talk about here later,
Sure.
but that I don't think is, I mean, it's definitely not possible in Quickbase to do what we were trying to do. So yeah, but the main pain point is really just in Quickbase was just the inability to share staff tables and Caspio allowing that. So
Okay. Idalia, from your side then, what's your role in the overall project?
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, my role was to just help build or help bridge the transition between the departments that, or my department specifically, and the departments that do work with my department, and to make sure that each workflow on Caspio was being implemented. I would say probably not only just unique, but very, very changing needs of the organization and of the clients in general. And what I mean by that, earlier, Ryan did mention that we do work with Medicaid. So we work a lot, obviously, with the government and their specific policies and even just laws that specifically policies within DDD, the Division of Developmental Disabilities, that are ever changing. They're always, we're just even we went through a change in the middle of developing Caspio. And then we're going through this other big change, within the next couple of weeks here as well. So, my role specifically is to make sure that I have a full understanding of the changes, and have a full understanding of the workflow to make sure that we are aligning and adhering to, the policies, that are being required by the state of Arizona. So, within just, maintaining us in not just, HIPAA compliant, but just compliance in general. So, that's definitely one of the, my biggest role within Caspio and this transition over to Caspio. And it's definitely it's been incredibly useful to be able to not only, like Brian and Ryan said, like implement all of these integrations, but also have a less of a clutter with the previous system that we had. It was a little bit messy. While we were able to do our work and, we're able to get the information that we needed and everything like that. My department right now is the biggest administrative department. So, while we do have a lot of clients and, in-field or caregivers and therapists and everything like that, a lot of my job and my role within this big transition was to make sure that our administrative staff were, trained and also following and adhering to the DDD policies that we're very open about. DDD is very open about it, but sometimes it's just kind of the nitty gritty that we don't think about. So in the previous system, because it was just a mass of information, it was so cluttered, and we were able to get our job done. Or me as, part of the leadership team within my department, I had to be almost like, it was extra work for me to make sure that nobody was, stepping out of the lines of compliance, or making sure that we were still, following each process and each workflow correctly. And so with Quickbase, in our previous system, and Ryan could even, attest to this, there was a lot of issues that we didn't even know about because it was so easy for people to go around and do like find roundabout solutions that ended up causing us a lot more, pain or stress in the long run. So with Caspio, not only has it been, has it been really, really useful and really helpful to, get some information from Brian, just reaching out, whether it's reports or whatever it is, but also be able to track a lot of our efficiency and administrative efficiency, making sure that they're following the correct triggers, making like we're now, you have no choice but to stay in compliance with, with these processes that we're implementing, even when they're changing, being able to kind of go with the flow and ride the wave of all the changes that are going on with the state in general. But it's still very, easy to use, user friendly and everything too. And so, I think people are just kind of getting a little bit, it was a little bit of a shock to everybody administrative wise that it wasn't as cluttered and it wasn't as, there's a lot of information that they don't have access to, not because they can't, but because they don't really need the access, to that information and stuff. And so I've been hearing about a lot about, the things that we need to fix, the things that we're tweaking, the feature requests, like Brian mentioned, and everything like that, because for the first time, we're able to kind of streamline and have this tunnel vision of these are the processes and the workflows that we need to follow.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about how was the transition for the employees moving to the new system?
Mm-hmm. Honestly, I think that just like any transition, it was a huge learning curve. Ryan had mentioned being on Quickbase for a few years. I was part of that Quickbase transition. We transitioned from Excel sheets over to Quickbase, and it was actually, of course, pretty easy, right? It was an Excel sheet, and it was just now learning the system and getting pretty easy as in my side. I was a case manager at the time, and everything like that. And I think that with, like I mentioned, every transition has a learning curve. I think I kind of maybe underestimated the number of clients and number of staff that we had. So, however, I think the staff, at least my staff and the staff that have moved over to Caspio have adapted very, very well. I think that they are very open to asking questions because both Brian and Ryan have been really open with answering, and getting back to us on any tweaks or anything that we need to, adjust or anything like that. So, but just like any change, I think everybody was either kind of having a little bit of issues, like pivoting from one system to another. But I think now that we have been in it for a few months, and really done a mass transition from one system to another, and things are, people are getting used to no clutter. They're getting used to communicating these processes, putting in, reaching out to myself or Ryan or Brian and communicating all of this. Everybody has been a lot more, I think, relieved to see that Caspio does actually help with processes and efficiency and their day-to-day workflow too.
Sounds great. Brian, from your side, from a technical perspective, were there some complex requirements from Arizona Autism?
I think, as we said before, the individual features are not that complex. But what does become complex is how much it needs to interact with each other and the interdependencies across the environments. And as Idalia said there, trying to make the user interfaces as easy and as intuitive as possible, because there is a lot of data and there's a lot of functionality. But when you actually put it down to, okay, this role only needs to do this, this, and this, how do we present that data in the most user-friendly way so that they can just do their job and focus? Caspio's been actually really good with that. You can set up roles, and then you can use those roles specifically on different data pages and within the UIs to control what people can see and what they need to deal with on a daily basis. So I think, that's been the main focus.
Yeah. And you've all mentioned HIPAA and obviously the importance of having that in your application. Why would that be, Ryan? Can you share that with everybody, why the importance of having HIPAA compliant application is important?
Yeah, so we're dealing with PHI, protected health information. So the application needs to be very secure, needs to be encrypted at the database level, and it has to have multi-factor authentication and all of that. And that's a requirement by law. So here in the States, and I think everywhere really. Caspio does a great job of that, and I would say a much better job than Quickbase. Quickbase, actually, you could only authenticate via an email code that was sent to. You couldn't use your cell phone to authenticate which I really like the fact that you can you use the Authenticator app in Caspio, so that's great. I just feel like that's more secure. So yeah.
Okay, so from your side, Brian, was it difficult to integrate HIPAA into these applications from your side, or was it pretty straightforward?
It's never totally straightforward.
Yeah.
I mean, Caspio is HIPAA compliant, so on your side, you deal with all of that.
Yeah.
But then with the applications themselves and how people use it, like I said, the security is quite flexible across the whole solution. So you have what you call authorization objects, and you can query the data. And what I've done is set up tables which define what roles can do and what they can see and what they can actually, what data they can get access to. And then you can build these authorization objects by querying the data depending on those tables. And then you can set that authorization on each of the individual data pages. And we've got between 600 and 700 actual data pages now across the whole application.
Yeah.
So, once it's set that these roles get this access, and then with a central table to actually control that, if there is a change, then I can go in and just change that in one place quite centrally. And those central directories then control the access across all of the different departments in Arizona Autism. So although it's not straightforward and it's not easy, the flexibility that Caspio offers in that regard is far better than just about all of the other low-code applications that I may have worked with. So, and it's really important, obviously, to Ryan and his teams to make sure that that is secure and obviously compliant. So yeah.
Okay, thanks for sharing that. Ryan, you mentioned AI before. How are you incorporating that into the workflows?
Yeah, so it's been a project that we've been working on. We're currently working on it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be really cool. So one of the use cases that I think is the best use case for this is that if we had the ability to have a little chat bot in the application that you could ask any question about any client or staff member or status or missing documents or date of birth or telephone, whatever, any data that basically resides in the application, and you could use natural language to be able to elicit a response from that.
Yeah.
That would save somebody from clicking the clients, typing in the client's name, going into the client record, reviewing there's some time savings involved in that. So what we're working on is attempting to do that. Brian has figured out a way in a secure manner to be able to ask a chat questions, natural language. We got to teach it. I think we're in the process of doing that.
Yeah.
You'll be able to ask what phase is Jane Doe in? Who is Jane Doe's doctor? Stuff like that. What is there any availability on Jane Doe's schedule? And or tell me who is available in zip code 85022, for example, and it would get out a list of therapy providers that are available. So it's going to be awesome. If we can do this, it's going to be really cool and applicable to all of the applications and even my full code application. I also have this full code application. I have a company called Therapy Corner, and leveraging it inside of there. So there's just a lot of use cases for it. The biggest thing, obviously, is the speed. It needs to be fast. It needs to be snappy. And I think we're almost there. So that's great.
Oh, exciting. So I suppose from a ROI perspective with you then, Ryan, what's been your biggest measurable impact since you've moved across to Caspio?
I mean, the cost is by far the biggest measurable impact.
Yeah.
It's you get more for less money. That's a good thing. That's always great when you're looking for software. Getting more for your buck than what you previously did. So that's by far the biggest measurable thing. what's been nice, especially going with non-skilled, going from Quickbase to Caspio, is that, and I think Idalia touched on this a little bit, is that we took this opportunity to cut out a lot of things that may have been over-engineered in Quickbase, like trying to do too much with the software that wasn't necessary, really. So we kind of cut out the fluff, so to speak, even though it's a very complex application. At the end of the day, there are some very complex workflows based on staff statuses and training forms etc. At the end of the day, there was a lot of just extra stuff that was cut out that we didn't necessarily need. So it gave us a really good opportunity to refine everything for this huge behemoth of an organization that, we have 4,000 staff members. Yeah. They're not using it, obviously. I think there's probably maybe 100 some users of Caspio, but we are managing thousands of employees. There's no out of the box system that wouldn't have to be engineered in some way. And this is evidence because I have a full code platform that I use to do the documentation. So thousands of people are using this full code platform called Therapy Corner. And it's not possible to do everything that I want to do inside of that platform. I have to have Caspio do, like, we have lead integration with clients, with staff, with all of these these cool workflows, such as like going to the website, filling out a service inquiry form, populates into Caspio. People are getting that information. They're working those leads. For my business, which gets so many staff applying, I mean, we get 40 40 applicants every day applying to this company. There's no way to handle that in a out of the box solution. Like, you have to have some type of customization to route these things to the right players, and we're doing the same thing on the client for clients as well. Individuals that are looking for services, we're routing them to special people. People are vetting those, sending them on down the pipeline. It's a very complex setup. And what's really cool is now we're getting analytics where we have how many leads are coming in, how many applicants are coming in, how many of those are successful, how many are being denied. We have all of this data that we previously didn't have in Quickbase, which is awesome. So yeah.
No, thank you for sharing that. And from your side then, Idalia is obviously responsible for like the employees, and Brian's mentioned how many employees are interacting with the system and things. Are you seeing efficiencies from your side?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I think in the last couple of months, obviously with the transition, we were mainly focusing on transitioning, making sure that we didn't lose not just the day-to-day workflow, but also our communication with our clients and their families and our staff as well. I would say the workflow just in general has definitely improved. Just like any type of, I guess automations or computers, even with AI, like Ryan was mentioning and everything too. The whole point of that is just to make everything easier or to reduce the amount of repetitive tasks or anything like that, right? So I think that with Caspio now we're definitely noticing a lot of that. We're noticing a little bit more of how can I put it? Maybe time for the administrative staff, at least in my department, to focus on more of the relational aspect of the position. And because Caspio is kind of doing the rest for us, the rest of the automations, this transactional portion, where we put in some information and it will update staff statuses, or we put information and it will, communicate any of the links that we have to do with specific type of workflows with pairings and stuff like that. So, like I just mentioned, I think that it's just definitely given us a lot more time. And I've definitely seen an improvement on being able to focus on just being the other side of the position is just, in the organization and making sure that we are meeting the needs of our clients at 100%. And it's just awesome to know that, with this transition, we're able to meet even the needs of our administrators and tie them into that too.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And Brian, from your side, from a technical perspective, what are you most proud about with this project?
Good question. There's a lot of things. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to focus on any particular one feature, but like I said before, I think it's the holistic way that it all works together. Yeah. You can make a change in one area, and that'll fire off, automated processes, which then fire off other automated processes, and that data flows through the system and comes back with the result, which is going to help the clients, Idalia and Ryan, run their business. Yeah. And if we can get this artificial intelligence bit, optimized, and we're getting some really good results already, then that's really, really going to speed up the efficiency of their business. And I think that's what I'm really proud of, is that the impact it is having on the work that these guys are doing, the great work that these guys are doing, really, supporting their clients and their patients. So, yeah, I mean, in short, it is how the complexity of it is being able to be managed in a low-code platform, and enabling them to run their business.
Yeah, I was going to ask you actually how you expect the project to evolve over time, but I'm sensing obviously AI is a big part of this moving forward.
I think so. Yeah, definitely. But Ryan's a very entrepreneurial guy. He'll probably come to me with another organisation he wants integrated.
But, how many hours in the day, Ryan?
I know. They know.
So
they have a habit of that.
So if you could go back in time, and obviously been working together now for 18 months, 2 years now, is there anything that has changed differently from kind of initial concept to where you are now?
So, I mean, we approach it in a very iterative way from the very beginning, which was great. We had, let's solve this problem.
Yeah.
We always had the holistic view where we wanted to end up, but just doing it the iterative way, do that, do the next bit, fit it all together. I think in the end, it all kind of went live together, which, from a stress point of view, is never always that great. Well, we had a lot of confidence in it, and it went live, and the migration of the data, Idalia had to do a lot of work. There was a lot of manual stuff in the end, but there was also a huge amount of data that we could just port across and put into the system. So, yeah, I think that's from my perspective. Ryan, do you want to add to
that? Yeah, I mean, I wish that I would have found Brian earlier in my journey. We went through a time where I was personally very stressed out because the cost of Quickbase was it was just absurd. It was, compared to other low-code platforms that I had looked at, some of them 25 times more expensive. I mean, just absurd costs. And I wish that I would have just started that journey earlier in this whole thing, and being, I wanted to give Quickbase a chance. Like, I just wish I would have. It's hard, right? When you invest all of your time and your energy into something and we build on Quickbase and making that decision to have to leave. I mean, it is a gigantic product. I mean, we got thousands of clients and staff. Like, it's just, I want a home where I don't need to do this again, right? And I want to be able to refine what we have. So yeah, looking back on it, I wouldn't do much differently. Just that I would have pulled the trigger earlier. That's for me. That's what I would have done.
Yeah. So.
And I would have had more testing time, because that's what every developer always.
Yeah. So kind of wrapping this up then. So if we've got listeners thinking about low code and Caspio, let me go to each of you, and you kind of share your feedback. What advice would you give to that person listening, thinking about low code and Caspio? Idalia, let me go to you first.
Yeah. I could definitely speak a little bit about, the transition. I would say maybe, hmm, I would probably invest more time time with training and communication on on any type of transition from one system to another. Caspio is not only very easy to learn and pick up, but I think that it would be really beneficial for everybody to kind of be on the same page a lot earlier. That way, it could everybody could just kind of be on the same page with making the process a lot smoother. But personally, I think that just training and communication a lot earlier would be probably my best advice.
Yeah, good advice. Ryan, what do you think from your side?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if there's companies out there that are looking for, especially healthcare companies, if they're looking for a HIPAA compliant solution, I and that some and you want something that is ultra customizable. I believe that Caspio hits all of those marks. Um, and that's really what I would say. So especially if you're a medical company that has just these unique workflows, the next steps for us, I just want to mention this before we close. The next steps, hopefully, my vision. I don't know if Brian is aligned with this, but my vision is that. So I have this full code platform, right? I want to connect Caspio with this full code platform where I'm able to push staff members into the full code platform. I'm able to push schedules into the full code platform. That's that's time consuming on our behalf, right? We keep the schedules in Caspio, and then we have to take those schedules and we have to manually input them into Therapy Corner, so that the thousands of staff members can document on those clients, right? So my vision is that we will get to a place in the future where we can connect these two applications, where just I mean hundreds of hours, thousands of hours across the year would be saved. Yeah. So and I think that we'll be able to get there with Caspio. I think it has the ability to connect via APIs and stuff with Therapy Corner. So
yeah, definitely here to support you on that journey, Ryan. And Brian, from your side, what advice would you give? It sounds like obviously Ryan wished he'd come to you earlier. So apart from listeners coming to you directly, what advice would you give them if they're considering low code and Caspio?
I think we should just end on that point, to be honest. But I think you need to have the migration's a big thing. So, if you're moving for something which, for whatever reasons, you're not particularly happy with at the moment, then you need to understand why. You need to understand how that data is held today, so that you can properly, architect and design and build a better solution in a way that you can easily migrate that data across, or as easily as possible, and then make sure that the flows can all work effectively. And we integrate with so many applications out of Caspio. It provides other solutions at the moment, from recruitment to the payroll systems to even the gift system for supporting the staff. So yeah, the integration into the full code application will be fine. And at some point, I might even persuade him to move that into Caspio as well. You don't know.
Sounds good to me. Well, Ryan, Idalia, and Brian, thank you so much for your time. It's been a really interesting conversation. Ryan, Idalia, thank you for being a Caspio customer. Brian, for being one of our premier partners. We appreciate all three of you, and we're excited to where this journey is going to continue over the coming years. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You have a great day. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.